Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Geordie's Basement. My name is Jordan, joined again on this Friday by our friend Rob out in Iowa. Rob, how you doing, man?
Hey, hey, hey.
All right, we're back with another album ranking video. We've been doing these now. This is our fifth one. And if you haven't seen the previous four, Van Halen and Iron Maiden being the most recent, please check it out somewhere in the archives. It's in a playlist called Ranking the Album. And today we're tackling one that is another large discography that turned out to be a lot of fun, and that's Styx. I don't know if you call them Prague. I don't think maybe Proggy a little
Yeah.
bit. I guess Proggy is the best word. So a lot of it was a lot of fun, and honestly for me I was just telling Rob off camera, it was the most fun I've had yet doing one of these, just because there's so much music to discover. I didn't discover Styx until late in the '70s. So I had to go, that was already 8 or 9 albums in. So I had to go back and listen to all those albums. And that happened over the course of the next 40 years. So there's been a lot of revisiting stuff to prepare for this. So we're as usual, we're doing the studio albums only. Rob and I agreed that we're going to leave off Big Bang Theory, which was a covers album that Styx did. So that would be their 17th, technically it's number 17. So we're going to do the top 16. And we'll do them without any comps, without any live albums, just studio albums. And as always, we ask that you put yours in the comments below. Like the video, let us know what you think, and let's get a conversation going from there. All right, so we're going to count them from 16 from our least listened to our most. And we throw it over to Rob to start us out with number 16 for Styx. You're on.
Yeah, like you said, this was tough. It was fun. Some of them ranked differently than I thought they would, but so I got this 2 CD compilation of all the Wooden Nickel albums. And the lowest in my ranking is the first album, Styx. With only 2 originals, it's mostly a covers album. And even one of the originals has this really annoying 2-minute talking interlude that just about welfare and food stamps. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but there's some good stuff, but it's just not my favorite Styx album.
I mean, what's an album without welfare and food stamps?
Exactly. I mean, everyman problems.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling we're going to definitely rattle some cages as we seem to have done over the first couple. This very first one might do that, but my number 16 is Brave New World, the album from 1999, their 13th studio album, the last album with Dennis, first album with Todd Sucherman, which is a good thing. Great drummer, Todd is. It was their lowest charting album, which really has nothing to do with my ranking, but the title track I think is okay, but this sounds like a band that's been splintered for sure. There's no question. Tommy over here, Dennis over here, very, very rarely collaborating. It sounds like 2 solo albums at times. It's flat sounding to me. And I think High Crimes and Misdemeanors is the worst song Styx, one of the worst songs Styx has ever recorded. I just don't get it. You agree?
Not one of the.
You think
It's worse than their worst song.
Okay, we agree on victory. So yeah, so it's just never gonna. I don't even like the album art. So yeah, 1999, Brave New World is my number 16. Number 15.
Going back to the Wooden Nickels with Styx 2. There's some great stuff. They did write the majority of the album. I believe this is the one with Plexiglass Toilet, which what the hell? That's a fun little tune. But then of course Lady on here, which was later re-recorded for a compilation. Everybody knows that song. It's a classic, but Earl of Roseland is really cool, but otherwise, I mean, I could take it or leave it. There's some good stuff, but not enough to rank it higher, I guess.
It had to happen, Rob. For the first time in our history of 5 weeks, we have the same album ranked the same number. Congratulations. Right. Number 15 for me is also Styx 2. Plexiglass Toilet, however, is not on that album. It's on the one that The Serpent is Rising, which came up next. But Lady, of course, is on that album. And it kind of sticks out. It's one of the first songs they really wrote. I mean, they didn't write, like you said, they didn't write most of the first album. And it wasn't a hit. Lady wasn't even a hit for another 2 albums later or something, like 2 years later or something, which is weird. But of course, it's just a phenomenal song. It's one of Dennis's first great song. So Styx 2 from 1973 is my number 15 as well. Broke the seal. All right, number 14 for you.
Even though there's some great stuff, Edge of the Century's next. It's the first album after Kilroy. Tommy's gone. I do like, was it Lawrence Gowan on this one?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Hey, he's good, but it's a good album. There's some great songs. Love is a Ritual is okay. Show Me the Way is absolutely classic. But overall, it's a decent album. It's not great. It's decent.
All right, people are going to start talking. We're going together again on this one. My number 14 is Edge of the Century. That 12th album, 1990. Like you said, Tommy's out. Glenn Burtnick, New Jersey's own Glenn Burtnick. The last album they did for a major label or A&M Records at the time, they had made A&M. They've been so great for them for so many years. This is the last album for them. It was the first album, like you said, since Kilroy, produced by Dennis. And I agree, Love of the Ritual and Show Me the Way are the standout tracks. But to me, it sounds like a corporate rock album. A lot of it is kind of, Styx was blamed for that a lot in those days. And this one really is kind of corporate to me. I know a lot of folks love it, but it's number 14 for me, which means, it's not awful. There's 13 albums that are better, in my opinion, and your opinion too. So let's go to number 13.
Yeah, I said, when I say Gowan, I meant Burtnick, but you get it.
Oh, right. I did. Yeah, right. Burtnick.
This might ruffle some feathers, but Cornerstone next for me.
Wow.
Some great stuff on here. I love Boat on the River. Eddie is a fantastic forgotten song. Lights. Those Styx harmonies are incredible. But again, not my favorite. Fantastic album, but not my favorite.
Yeah, great album packaging on that. Unbelievable. It's annoying because the album goes in. I'm not going to take it out later, but you'll hear about it in a few minutes. But yeah, I agree with you. Side one of that album is pristine, and side two kind of a little bit off. Cornerstone. Now, interesting. We're definitely splintering off here. My number 13 is actually surprising. The Serpent is Rising. From the third album from 1973. I thought it was going to be, I thought I was going to hate it. And when I went back and listened to it, because Dennis DeYoung is on record as saying it's the biggest piece of crap in recorded music history. It's not too complimentary. It came out just 3 months after their second album, so it was kind of rushed. And The Serpent is Rising. Can you get any more overtly sexual than that? The whole album is full of stuff like that. There's a song on it. What's the song called? The Grove of Eglantine or something. That's about a woman's, So Dennis, I don't know what he was thinking on this, but it's definitely it's cringy at times. John Krolewski is still there, obviously, and he has an awful spoken word song called Krakatoa that's on it. But I got to look at my notes here. The best thing on this album is a song called, for me, is As Bad as This, which is a Krolewski tune. But sadly, it's connected Prague style, A and B, with this Calypso thing, plexiglass toilet, which is really just a Dr. Demento thing. I don't know what it is. But anyway, yeah, the album is good and bad for me. It's funny at times, but I was pleasantly surprised it came in at 13. Number 12.
All right, going back to Wood Nichols, Man of Miracles. Finishes lower for me. It's a good tune. There's a Christopher. Mr. Christopher has some killer keys. There are some definite proggy moments on the album. Witch Wolf is not Witch Wolf. Rock and Roll Filling. There's also, a song for Suzanne. This began the sort of Dennis DeYoung wanting to kiss his wife's ass on so many songs. I feel like this is one of the, Ladies was a start, but it continues it. Yes, we get it, Dennis. You love your wife. That's fantastic. But come on, how many songs do we need to have about Suzanne?
I think there's even a song called Suzanne something. Yeah, you're right. It's a love affair with Suzanne for sure.
Yeah.
Love that. My still a good album, and that was the one that came in higher for me than I thought. We'll hear about that in a second. My number 12 is the debut, Styx 1, 1972. It's only a half an hour, 32 minutes long, and 13 of those minutes are for the very first track, Movement for the Common Man, which is, has such a prog sound to it when you hear about side one being the song. It's a hard rock album. It's not a proggy thing. It's hard rock, and they didn't write most of it. John Krolewski's obviously there, no Tommy yet. And this is the re-release. This is not even the original cover, but I was happy. It's a good hard rock record. That's all it is. It's not Styxy yet, but it's not a bad debut. So it comes in at number 12 for me. So number 11.
Final ranking of the Wood Nichols album, Serpent is Rising. I guess maybe I just dig those innuendos. I haven't grown up yet. I'll get there. But I do have to agree, Krakatoa was kind of a waste of time. It feels like, I don't know, maybe something Jim Steinman would have done on a Meatloaf album. It didn't really fit on a Styx album. It works for Steinman, not so much for Kuralewski. But the rest of the album, not bad. Like I said, Witch Wolf was a fantastic track. 22 Years is okay. The title track is all right, but you're getting a little obvious with these innuendos here. A little obvious. Where's that serpent rising to? The Grove of Eglantine? That's where that serpent's headed.
I love to hear Dennis talk about that now. He's very active on social media. I love to see him write something about the serpent is rising and talk about that, because I don't know what was going through the mind there, but obviously the songwriting got much better. My number 11 is Crystal Ball, which is the first album with Tommy. And the very first song that he contributed to Kiss, Mademoiselle, is, in my opinion, a classic. It's just a great song. You know, so Queeny. I mean, it got a lot of Queen compare. It came out around the same time as Bohemian Rhapsody, like 1976. So it got a lot of comparisons. It is very Queeny, quite honestly. But so is Styx in a way. I mean, those harmonies are they suck you in. And Mademoiselle it's a perfect start for Tommy and Styx. The title track obviously became a fan favorite that I think they still play now, 4 years later at a concert, Crystal Ball. So I think it's a really good debut for Tommy. It's definitely a shift, a paradigm shift for the band going in another direction once Tommy is in. And I think it's a good one. So it just misses the top 10 at number 11 for me, Crystal Ball. Sixth album, 1976. So we're in the top 10 now.
This one I thought would rank a hell of a lot higher, but it didn't. Kilroy Was Here. It's a concept album about, get this, all right, music is illegal. Nobody had done that before. This is new. Nobody's before or since. Certainly not Rush or Dream Theater. Nobody. No. So I mean, there's some good stuff, but they're just outright just bullshit. Like, why? Why is this even here? I mean, there's even a Tommy Shaw song that I'm like, what was he thinking? Is he trying to follow in Dennis DeYoung's footsteps? I mean, there's like, Don't Let It End, I think, is classic. Mr. Roboto, who doesn't know that song? Heavy Metal Poisoning is great. There's just a lot of filler on this one. And sometimes I don't even feel like it fits the concept of the story. And of course, Dennis DeYoung loves his wife. And there's a song about it here. Yay. Good job, buddy.
Continuing on the tradition. Wow, man. Well, we're jiving. Number 10, Kilroy Was Here. You're right. You're spot on right. I mean, it's a concept album. Doesn't feel like a concept album, which is fine, because if you just break it down by song, there's some good stuff on here. I mean, Don't Let It End, they call it a power ballad. The beginning and the end are ballady, but the song is kind of a rocking song. I've always loved Don't Let It End. And Heavy Metal Poisoning is my favorite Jay White song in Styx's catalog. He's so great when with the yes and the harmonies are great. It's the last album they made with this classic lineup. The band was, I mean, obviously we know what happened as a result of this album. The band just exploded into a million pieces. They didn't come back for years. But again, there is some good stuff on this, and there's also some kind of trashy stuff on it too. Again, great packaging though. Again, or confusing packaging. This one opens up funky too. But Kilroy Was Here is my number 10. I thought it was going to be higher too. So surprise, surprise. So number 9, what do you got?
The final album with the original lineup, Equinox. Again, great stuff here. Sweet Madam Blue is just classic. I'm going to call that one prog. That one's a proggy tune. That's just fantastic. Lorelei, I think, is horrible. I don't like Lorelei. I know people call me crazy. I don't like it. Midnight Ride is a really cool James Young song, though. So, I mean, some good stuff on here. Confusing album cover. I think it's a melting ice cube. I don't know.
Yeah, trying to be artsy. So yeah, that's going on. That'll be coming up shortly as well for me. My number 9 is Man of Miracles, which was one of my two biggest surprises on this list. Fourth album, 1974. This is like Dennis really took control of the band a little bit here. He wrote 5 of the songs, which is pretty cool. And actually, JY sings 5 of the 10 songs on the album. So Dennis is writing them, and JY is singing some of them. And he's got that this monster, like loud, metal-y type voice, JY. So the album rocks. I do love the cover. It's really cool. The wizard with the beard and it's kind of a proggy cover. And there's not really any weak tunes on it, which is kind of why it finishes this high. It's a lot of other Styx albums that we talked about have that filler on it. We keep talking about it. This one was just kind of straight on good. And so it finishes at number 9 for me. Man of Miracles from 1974. Number 8.
All right, Crystal Ball for me. Shoes is a song that gets forgotten about, but I think it's a pretty cool little rock and roll tune. I wouldn't call it prog or anything crazy, but a cool little rock and roll tune. And of course, the title track is just phenomenal. Tommy definitely brought a new energy into the band, and I think it's a pretty damn good album.
Yeah, agreed. Well, my number 8 is Cyclorama, Carrot. Everybody's reaching for the carrot. I think the cover always confused me. I guess it's up for interpretation. It's supposed to be some kind of classic Storm cover, Storm Thurgeson cover. It's good. I mean, the booklet's full of carrots. And this is the last album they made until The Mission. So it was 14 years between this album and the next studio original album that they made. The first with Lawrence Gowan, the last one with Glenn Burtnick. There's a song on here called "Do Things My Way," which I always thought was about Dennis, because he had left the band. You know, he was very controlling. Do things my way. If you reading the lyrics a little bit, I think this might be a tribute to Dennis. It's a straight up hard rock album. Again, Cyclorama is it's bombastic. It's powerful. Kiss Your Ass Goodbye is a fun song. Not very Styxy. Again, it's kind of like Edge of the Century. I think it's better. Obviously, it's better. But Cyclorama, good album. Number 8 for me.
This one might turn some heads, and I thought it would be in my top 5, but in the end, it didn't stand up as like I thought it would. But Paradise Theater, an absolute classic rock album. Some great moments on here. Of course, Rock in the Paradise and Best of Times, I think, has some of my favorite Styx vocal melodies. Fantastic, again, concept album that doesn't feel like Tommy wanted to follow the concept. He's like, no, thanks. No, I'm good.
Well, he had too much time on his hands, so, you know.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, wow, Paradise Theater. Yeah, that's a lot of people's number 1. That album sold a crap ton of copies. My number 7 is Pieces of 8, which, you know, the 8th album, 1978. And really, this is the Tommy album. Dennis didn't have a single hit off of this album. This is all 3 singles were Tommy. The classic Blue Collar Man, of course, Renegade, both from this album. So just for those 2 songs alone, it's got to be higher ranking. Those are 2 classic 70s tunes. Again, no Dennis hits at all. Although his Lords of the Ring is a really cool song, I think. He's got some good stuff on it. They just weren't the singles. Great White Hope, the lead-off track on this album, is really, really good. And this is just a great album front to back. It's save for the ending instrumental Acca Wacka, which is kind of like a nothing track. This is the album where Tommy Shaw really stepped out and made a name for himself. I mean, he had hits before, but Pieces of 8 was where he really stepped into the limelight, so to speak. So this is my number 7, Pieces of 8. You're on number 6.
Mine is actually the 3rd Damn Yankees album, Cyclorama. Not really a Styx album. Fantastic music. I mean, great songs, except for that Genki Desuka. No thanks. Otherwise, fantastic album. I love it start to finish. Such a bunch of cool stuff on here. Bourgeois Pig. I mean, come on, Billy Bob.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. I wonder who that one's about. It ain't about Dennis DeYoung's wife, I'll tell you that.
I hope not. But yeah, isn't that the album that had the Jack Blades writing credits on it? Which is why, yeah, that's right. The 3rd Yankees album, correct. Wow. So, I mean, I'm surprised it finished so high for me too. So that's, I guess it's got good music on it, and that's what matters at the end of the day. But you're right, it's not very Styxy. So my number 6 is The Mission. Let's go to 2017. This is their 16th studio album. What a great comeback. Their first album in 12 years. I was shocked. I thought I was not going to like it. I thought it was going to be another corporate sounding album. It is not. This album, I saw it had an overture. That was the first thing I saw when it came out. And I was like, Styx has an overture on it. You know, as a prog mind, I'm like, I'm going to grab this thing. And it does not disappoint. It definitely checks the proggy boxes if you're into that kind of thing. Will Evankovich kind of joins as a 6th member and a producer. He's made a huge difference in the band. Locomotive, great song. Gone, 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 Radio Silence, all really, really quality tunes. It's a little short. I'm glad they made an album after it. Obviously, we haven't mentioned it yet, so I'm really happy that happened because they obviously got better. But this is a great return to form, and I'm thrilled that this happened. So it's my number 6, The Mission. And we've hit the top 5.
And since you just mentioned it, Crash of the Crown. Fantastic. Some of the best vocals in the band's entire career.
Please.
Definitely a very proggy vibe on a lot of this. no like central story, but just some really killer tracks. Save Us From Ourselves is such a cool kind of cautionary song. I mean, just a fantastic album. I think they wrote this during COVID time, so I'm glad they kept busy. It's a great album.
Totally agree. Fantastic. My number 5, hitting top 5, is the aforementioned Paradise Theater, which I thought would finish higher. It did not. 1981, the 10th studio album from Styx. It's the most commercially successful. We mentioned it was number 1 for 3 weeks in the charts. Too Much Time on My Hands, Tommy's only top 10 hit for Styx, is on this album. Obviously, everybody knows that song. Best of Times, Rockin' in Paradise. It's full of great songs. For me, it's a tale of two sides. And side 1 is so awesome. Side 2 doesn't check the boxes for me, although it does have Snowblind, which is awesome song. Snowblind is. But I don't like She Cares. Like the Tommy kind of hit. Not my thing. But fun fact about this album, I don't know if anybody out there knows this, but the front of this album, when Paradise Theater is new, is Paradise Theater with a R-E at the end of theater, but when it's closing on the back, it changes to theater in the traditional English ER sense at the end. And I think the spine is also ER at the end. So I don't know if that's a printing error or, and of course the vinyl itself with the etching on it is awesome. If you know what the vinyl is, I'm not going to show it to you now in the name of time, but Paradise Theater is a great album, and it finishes at number 5 for me. So we hit top 4 now.
I went with Brave New World here. I love this album, although let me say there's only one song from Dennis DeYoung I don't always skip. There's a song called While There's Still Time. I guess he's sad because he's has to go on tour and leave some woman. I don't know her name. He's never really mentioned her before, but the rest of his stuff is just, I mean, what the fuck is this hypocrisy song? How did they even allow that on there?
Hypocrisy, yeah.
I think once he showed that song, that's when Tommy's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to California. Good luck. Because that song is, they should have called it This Is Bullshit. But the rest, I mean, the Tommy and JY stuff are just fantastic. Everything Is Cool was a great song. Brave New World, number 1. I like this album. I just skipped the Dennis DeYoung stuff.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I'm very, I'm not surprised that you had it ranked differently than I had. It's common with us, but yeah, I mean, you're right. I didn't mention Everything Is Cool, and I should have, because even though it ranked at the bottom for me, that is kind of a cool song. So kudos to that, and thanks for bringing that up. My number 4 is my biggest surprise in the entire countdown. And that's Equinox. I thought anything without Tommy on it would have ranked a little bit lower, but this is the last album with John Kurlewski. Sadly, by the way, he passed away. He left to be with his family. He died in 1988. He was in his 30s. He had a brain aneurysm, and he died. So he probably should mention that. But he did on this album. He was a contributor. I mean, even though the big hits are obviously Light Up. With this, I mean, it starts out with Light Up and Lorelei. I know you don't like Lorelei. And it ends with Sweet Man and Blue. That right there, and then the whole album flowed very well. I really like Mother Dear, which is a Kurlewski DDY song in the middle of and side 1. So I thought side 2, Midnight Ride, you had mentioned, the JY tune is really good. And I think I enjoyed this album front to back in the research for this video more than I had the other albums, just because it sounded so fresh to me. And I was like, wow. But you're right, the cover is kind of weird. I don't know if that's melted ice or what the heck that is. But yeah, Equinox, obviously the band would change dramatically the next year with Crystal Ball, but 1975's Equinox is my number 4 Styx album of all time. So now we're in the top 3.
Top 3 were impossible for me to rank. I just had to fucking throw them in a hat and draw. And but Pieces of 8 came at number 3. The title track alone, I think, maybe in my top 5 favorite Styx tunes. You're right, there's some great Tommy stuff on here, but weirdly, it's the Dennis DeYoung stuff I enjoy the most on this one. I thought he was the best writer on this album. Queen of Spades is just a fantastic song. They did this and Grand Illusion live a couple years ago. God, it might have been a decade now. If you haven't heard that, pick it up. It's a fantastic performance.
Nice. And obviously that was not with Dennis, so I'm with Gowan singing Dennis's parts, who's quite good. And by the way, Gowan, if you didn't know Gowan before he joined Styx, he was a very successful solo artist in Canada. And I first got turned on to him because he had Alex Lifeson play on his album Lost Brotherhood, which I don't have with me. I wanted to show it. Lost Brotherhood, I don't know if you have that album, Rob, by Lawrence Gowan. You definitely should get it. I mean, Alex isn't shredding on it, but he's guested on it. He's credited on it. And it's a good rock album from the early 90s, Lost Brotherhood. So I kind of knew him before he joined Styx. And I think he's quite a good replacement for Dennis, even though obviously he's not Dennis. So an aside about Lawrence Gowan. My number 3 is this one, Cornerstone. A Tale of Two Sides for me. Side 1, fantastic. It has my personal favorite Styx song on it, Boat on the River. And possibly even Lights might even be my number 2 Styx song. Love both of those tracks. Side 2, I agree, Eddie's a decent song. The rest of it doesn't really do anything for me. So I wish it did, because Side 1 is really one of the great album sides they've ever had. Not the best album side they've ever had. We'll get to that. Certainly very, very good. This album was actually nominated for a Grammy for Best Rock Performance. It lost to not Hotel California, Heartache Tonight. Eagles. I was right on the Eagles. But it was Heartache Tonight. And of course, it had their only number 1 song, Babe, which may or may not be about his wife. But yeah, wow, right? And I'm not going to pick it apart, but geez, this thing is a puzzle piece to take apart and put together on vinyl. So Cornerstone from 1979 is my number trace. Now we're in the top 2.
Starting to think we're going to agree on 1. Starting to. Number 2, The Mission. Fantastic concept album that actually follows a concept. I think Tommy was able to get on board with this one without the concept of, hey, everybody, look at me, I love my wife. Woo! Fantastic album. Just amazing from start to finish.
It is a great listen, and it is one that you really should listen to front to back. It's much better when listened to as a whole piece, which is so proggy of it. I was so happy when that album came out, because I was like, oh, if this is going to be Styx from now on, I'm going to be a happy guy. And turns out I was very happy, because this thing is my number 2. This thing is phenomenal. I got it on vinyl by accident. I wanted to go buy the CD. They didn't have it, and I splurged and bought the vinyl, and I'm so happy I did. What a great package. Crash of the Crown, 2021. The first album since Styx 2 that doesn't have a JY composition on it. He's not credited on any writing. But ironically, he does sing the title track or part of it, and I think it's one of the best songs in the album. So he wasn't a non-contributor, certainly. His vocal is awesome. But this album, just like The Mission, just flows beautifully. A Monster. I mean, Our Wonderful Lies, a great ballad. Side 2 just flows beautifully. All the songs kind of together. They're all like one. This is just a work of art, and the artwork is gorgeous as well. So I'm totally stoked. I hope they keep making albums. But Crash of the Crown is my number 2 favorite Styx album of all time. And brother, we're going to agree on number 1. Take it away.
Grand Illusion. Obviously, I think we're going to disagree on best album side, because side B is my favorite album side of their whole career. Man in the Wilderness and Castle Walls. I mean, with those weird keyboards and castle walls, makes you think like you're watching a Halloween movie. I fucking love everything about this album.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I thought you were. I saw your shirt. I thought maybe that was giving it away a little bit, because if you hold it up next to it, you're camouflaging it. The great cover, the great everything. This is the album, and it's no question, number 1, 1977. It came out on 7/7/77. The whole mystery of it. But this is the album that I would tell people, I'm going to listen to Styx. Where should I start? Here. Start here, because this is the Styxiest Styx album. And then from there, you can go this way if you want more rocking. You can go this way for some theatrical stuff, and you'll get more of that here and there. But this is where it all comes together in the middle. Everything is perfect. I think side 1 is not only the greatest Styx album side, but one of the great album sides of the entire decade. The Grand Illusion, Fooling Yourself, Superstars, and a little ditty called Come Sail Away. Wow. Never got tired of that song. But you're right. Side 2 is awesome. Miss America starts on side 2. It doesn't stop. Man in the Wilderness, Castle Walls is gorgeous. I wish there was one more track on there. It'd be so. Anyway, but I'm not going to complain. This is definitely a perfect, a 10 out of 10 album, and undisputably the number 1 best Styx album in my opinion, and yours as well. So that's kind of cool that we had matching, considering we've had completely opposite ends of the spectrum on a lot of these. But at least we agree on this. If you don't own this, go get it. I mean, do yourself a favor. Whether you're prog, rock, whatever you are, you got to have this album. The Grand Illusion is the best. Sold 6 million copies too. So a lot of the people would agree with us on that.
And most people don't know this, but Come Sail Away is about when Dennis DeYoung wanted to take his wife on the Jungle Cruise ride at Disneyland.
Oh, is it really? Unbelievable.
I'm sure it is. It has to be. It's so obvious.
I mean, poor Suzanne. She's totally innocent in all of this. But yeah. So anyway, so will we ever see Dennis return? Probably not. The guys told Dan Rather, I saw the interview, that it's not going to happen. So I mean, sad but true. It would be cool to see him touring with him again. But anyway, that's another video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Check out Rob's band for sure. If you're into independent music, Rob's one half of a band called Liberty's Exiles. The link is just below. Go check them out. We'll see you again in a week. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And everybody have a great weekend. Go Styx. See ya.